and today we're gonna start something new. So the new thing I was talking about, of course, is this video. Yes, I've finally decided to start my YouTube channel, and what better than to talk about my experience here as a new immigrant in Canada and hopefully help someone with all the information that I've gathered in the past 6 months and how it has been helpful to me and hopefully now to you. So let's get started. So today I'm going to talk about a very dear topic to my heart. And if you know me back from India, you would know how much I love cars, right? And when I was moving here, it was a dream. It was a dream to own some of the best cars that exist because they exist here and they're never to be seen in India. And I came here with a racing heart of a little child, thinking that जाते ही बस, you know, ये गाड़ियाँ मैं ले लूँगा और चला लूँगा. But yeah, reality is always different. And when I came here, I realized that before anything else, I need a license. And so do you, and so do many others who come here, right? So hopefully today I will make the license process of Canada easy to understand through this video. And to begin with that, let me tell you that the licensing process here is a graduated learning process, and it requires you to go through 3 stages of licenses, starting with G1, then a year later it goes on to G2, and then another year later it goes on to G, which is your full and final license. So if you heard me right, that's 3 years of just getting your license, and it's not exactly cheap either. But if you've been driving for 2 years or more back in your country, then you can skip this process. You can get your G1 license, which is a mandate because you will have to learn about the rules and the regulations, and that is where the G1 comes in because it's all theory. And then learn some driving and then go and give your G test and get that in hand. So yeah, hopefully with this video, we will talk about how you can make it easy to get your G license without waiting for 3 years. Let me start with G1 because that is where you will still have to start, and you need to know how do you get your G1 license. So G1 is your learning license, and to get that, basically you have to give a written test, and it's a 40-question test which is taken on a touchscreen at the drive test centers, and you have to get 36 of those right out of 40. Studying for this is, I would say, simple because there is not only a handbook available by the Ministry of Transportation here, but there are a dozen apps available on every platform. So I was using an app called G1 Genius. It was a paid app. The first test is free, and then to unlock the others you have to pay. So it wasn't much, so I landed up paying. And I practiced on that for a couple of days. I would say 3-4 days of constantly spending 1-2 hours on the app and solving those questions, and you land up learning most of the rules. And it's not just the rules, it's also the road signs, which for most of the cases are similar to any other country that you must be driving in. Maybe the symbolics will be different, but yeah, most of them mean the same thing or are worded a little differently, if I must say. So that should be the easier part. It's the rules and how many demerit points you get if you break a certain rule here, like jumping a red light or things like that, are the things that you will have to probably learn and remember, because those are also part of the quiz once you go to solve it at the drive test center. The cost of license at the drive test center for G1 was hundred and something dollars. I will mention it in the description because I've forgotten. I don't have notes at all. I'm just doing this on the fly for the camera. So the cost is hundred something dollars, and you can take your driving license extract from your country, and you can add it when you are submitting a form for the G1 license, and then they give you the benefit of your experience, and they let you appear for the G test directly, skipping the 2 years that you might require to get there. But that doesn't mean that you should go for a G. Many a times I've seen other people like us who come here to this country realize that, hey, yes, the driving rules are very different and the driving methodology is very different, and they'll end up learning the graduated way and appear for the G2 instead of the G, because with that you will also gain your driving experience and learn to drive on the highways here at high speed before you can get your G license. So that's also a way. But to get to that, coming back to the G1 license, so it's easy. You have to go to the drive test center. Most of the times, for the G1 there is no appointment you can take, so you have to go and queue up. And most of the cases here where I've been, at least I was applying back in June, and during that time the queues were really long, and we would have to go and wait there for a few hours before our turn would arrive. So luckily for us, we went on a weekend. It was a Saturday, and we went at 11 a.m. but we were done by 2:30, and I believe by now it should be a shorter wait time. So once you do that, once your DL extract is accepted, you can appear for your G exam, which is, there's no time limit to it, so you can take your time. If you don't know a question, you can skip the question and come back to it later. It's not mandatory that you have to solve it, because every question has a negative mark. So I would rather suggest that you leave it and come back to it later and solve it with more peace of mind. So, and since there's no clock in front of you, you can take your time and try and answer and get these correct, so that you clear it at the first go. And clearing a license also adds another value in your life, which is you have a photo ID with an address proof which you can use. So a lot of times, everywhere you would have to take your passport otherwise as your photo ID. It stops you from doing that, because unless your PR card arrives or the license arrives, typically you don't have any ID as such. So this solves that purpose for you. So getting a G1 license is really recommended, whether you want to go and drive after that or not. Or you can, of course, there is a solution by the government here. It's called the photo card. You can also apply for the photo card and get that. But that also states that, hey, I'm not going to drive and I will not be taking a license. That is why I'm taking a photo card in lieu of the license. So you can hold either one of those, either a driving license or a photo card. I would recommend just go get your driving license, because this country is very car dependent, and public transport while in downtown is great, but from my experience, at least in the past 6 months, traveling to other cities in the GTA can become troublesome, and especially when the weather gets bad and the snow comes. I wouldn't recommend traveling in public transport. At least I don't want to, and I don't intend to. बाकी क्या होगा आगे वो तो भगवान जाने, देखेंगे जो होगा होगा. फिलहाल लाइसेंस तो हो गया. So that's a great thing. Now, coming to further information, once you have your G1 license, since my DL extract was added, I was eligible to apply for a driving test immediately. That's what the lady at the counter said. Because when I asked her, hey, now that I have my G1, how soon can I apply for a drive test? And she said, right now. You can apply right now. And I was like, what? So I didn't. Of course I didn't, because I did want to practice and learn and be sure before I go for a drive test that, hey, whatever I'm doing after learning about the rules is correct. So I did land up taking a couple of classes, which we'll come to, but before that, let me give you information about the G2 license. The G2 license is your intermediate license, and that is your first step to driving. In case you've never driven before, it's great because after the G1 you get about 12 months to learn for your G2 license, where you can take a driver's education class, which by the way helps because it reduces your 12 months time to 8 months if you're taking the drive ed course here, which is called BDE or BDE. Yeah. So once if you're taking the BDE, you can appear for your G2 test in 8 months, and it also adds extra experience onto your license because there's one strange thing in Canada which was not in India. यहाँ पे insurance, the cost of insurance is monthly, and unlike India where we would pay for insurance at one go for the year, I'm sure you can do that here, but the cost of insurance is what I would pay for the year for my car in India is probably not even half of what you would pay here for your car insurance every month. So it is pretty expensive, and the only way to reduce your insurance cost for the car is to have more and more driving experience with a very clean driving record over the years. So as a new driver, you get hit with a higher insurance cost considering your risk factor as a new driver to go crash your car is higher, right? And which is why none of the insurance companies will give you a big discount, and which factors into your cost of owning a car, and which is why your G2 license or G license also for a new driver will still cost high on insurance. At least that's what I've heard. I will only know once I buy my car because at least my driving license extract now with the G license and my driving experience added says that I have been driving for very long. And let's hope that gets considered while calculating my insurance rates. Well, I'm waiting on buying a car yet, so we will only know with time. Coming back to the G2 license. If you take the BDE course, after 8 months you can appear for your G2 driving test, and which is more of city driving, I would say, or driving in residential neighborhoods. So your drive speeds are not very high. There is no highway driving involved. They check for how well you can drive within the neighborhood, if you follow the rules correctly, if you stop at a stop sign, if you stop for the pedestrian crossing the road, or how well you can make your turns, like how do you do a 3-point turn, how well do you stop your car if there is an emergency situation, how well do you park it, can you park it in reverse, things like that. Can you there's also a test for parallel parking, I guess, and yeah, that's basically it. If you clear that, it's about a 25-30 minute test, and once you clear that, the driving instructor will tell you that, hey, you got your license, and that'll be a happy moment. Now once you've done that, you have to drive on G2 for a year because they give you that much time so that you can practice highway driving on your G2. So the difference between a G2 and a G driver is practically some restrictions on the G2 license about there are certain rules that are there that you have to follow, but apart from that, you're allowed to drive anywhere. Of course, you can drive on highways, and you can be taking your car wherever you want with with all the passengers that are there. The only thing I think you can't do is teach another G1 driver. You can't even teach as a new G driver. You have to have 4 years of driving experience on a G license before you can teach a G1 learning license candidate. So yeah, I mean, there are certain differences, but as far as it's concerning driving and where you can take your car, you can take it wherever you want, because that's absolutely allowed, and your G2 license gives you the license to drive. So go ahead and get the G2 if you feel that, hey, no, direct G leke shayad nahi, I might still fumble on the rules. then I would certainly suggest get the G2, because then gradually you learn, and I think the government also understands that and gives you that time to learn, right? And you should be very confident for highway driving. Things here are pretty different. Highways are high speed driving, and each and every one is going fast. It's not like India where highway पे speed limit 80 होता है but गाड़ियाँ 30-40 पे ही चल रही है. वैसा नहीं है. If the highways here are stating 100, then the minimum speed you can expect for everybody to be at is 100, because that's how fast they will be going. And even if you have to merge into the highway, you better merge at 100. Please don't slow down and merge. So yeah, that's what typically you need to learn before you go for your G. And highway driving becomes important because the freeways here, people are just zooming, man. It's good fun. And yeah, all speeds are in kilometers per hour. Unlike the US, there's no mile system here, so which is a good thing. Now, let me talk about the G license which I took and how did I take it. So while coming from India, I had already seen other vloggers talk about this DL extract thing over the years, and so I went ahead to the RTO and I got my DL extract. It was fairly simple. You had to apply online. There was a Vahan website, I believe, and on the Vahan website you just go and apply for your driving license extract, and they will give you a certain date and a time. Once your application is done and your payment is done, which was not even much, it was $30, and once that is done, you need to go to the local RTO with a printout of that application, and you have to go and submit. One of them will attest it and then send you to another counter, and that's where you will get your DL extract nicely stamped by the person at the RTO. Once you have that, make sure that you come to Canada, and within 6 months of having that DL extract, you go and get your license, because that's how long it is valid for. So I had my DL extract for my driving history, and I've been driving since the year 2000, so it was well over 20 years. And all I had to do was come here. When I went for my G1 test, I went to the counter and I told the gentleman there that, hey, here is my old license from India and here's my DL extract, and he took it and he just told me to fill a form which said how many years I'd been driving for, and I filled that, and that was it, done. I was in the system with all my driving history added to it, which is great. So I've seen a lot of posts on Facebook and other groups where people come and ask for help, or where they're confused whether what kind of license is required. So your typical Indian chip license, that is the one that is required. I think they do not accept old card or booklet licenses, so make sure you have upgraded to your chip license. A DL extract ideally with a stamp from the RTO is required, but I believe the processes are changing back in India and everything is becoming digital, so a digitally signed document will also do. And sometimes it causes trouble at some centers where the gentleman or the lady at the counter wouldn't accept it, but you can always try another day with another person. Usually works out. People have done that over 2-3 trips at different centers. At least that's what information I have. Luckily for me, I didn't have to face that challenge, and everything was accepted at one go. So it all worked out in the end. Yeah, so once that is done, I just went ahead, gave my G1 test. Then after my G1 test, I decided to just unlearn and relearn everything that I knew about driving, because I felt that, hey, when you're in a new country, it's better to drive by their rules and understand why they do what they do, right? And some of the rules here are great. I wish we would follow rules like this in some of the places in India, because sometimes driving there can get insane. Though I feel sometimes it's just a lot of skill to drive in India, because अरे कोई भी रॉन्ग साइड से आ सकता है, कोई भी सडनली चल सकता है गाड़ी के आगे, गाड़ी ने रुकना ही है, right? So yeah, it requires a little more skill. You hear things can be predictable, saying that everybody's going at 100, I'm going at 100, put on autopilot, let go. Definitely, cruise control was useless for me in India. But here it is worthy of having cruise control on your car, because driving can get boring and the highways are long and straight and for miles. So yeah, coming back to the license bit. So once you have your where was I? Yeah, once you have your G1 license, you can start your driving lessons. And I decided to take a couple of driving lessons. I found this very nice gentleman, Mr. Liaquat, who taught me driving here in Canada on his car. This was in downtown Toronto, and I would meet him at a certain station called Donlands, and then he would take me for my lessons, which would last for 45 minutes. The cost per lesson for these driving lessons is roughly $40 to $50, depending on where and who you're getting it from. And then that's not all, there's also a cost for the car. So if you're taking a driving instructor's car for the driving exam, then there is a cost to it too, right? So I paid another $150 for that to go give my driving test, which is fine. So and of course the G license, there is a cost to it. So there's yes, now I remember. So it's $116 for your G1 license, where $100 is the fee of the card that they will print the license on, and $16 is actually your exam fee. So it's $116 for your first license, and then $96 or $94 for the G license that you have to pay. Book an appointment, book a time slot, a time and day is given to you, and you have to go and appear for your driving test on that particular day at that particular time. Please do not be late, because if you're late, they might skip you, and then your turn won't come again that day because other slots are booked. So yes, in totality, I took about 5 lessons, where my driving instructor was more sure about my driving than I was, which was great. I felt happy about that, and he certainly told me that, hey, you will pass. And I was like, maybe I won't. He's like, no, you will. But luckily I did, and it was at one go. I got a very sweet driving examiner too, who sat down, and in the middle of the exam itself, she told me that, hey, I shouldn't be telling you this, but it shows that you've been driving for some time, and it's great. So, and then she just relaxed for the rest of the exam, and we came back and she just said, congratulations, you've got a license. I was very happy that I could do that at one go. Luckily for me, it also, I should say, goes to my instructor, who was pretty strict, and he would literally, I would say, scream at me if I was doing something wrong, and would be very particular about saying, hey, please follow the right rules, and be careful and be vigilant and be attentive and do this and do that and do a lot of things. And within 5 days, and lessons 45-50 minutes each, I think with a good 5 hours of driving experience, I was good to go. After that, I've been driving here, and it's been working out well. I mean, it's pretty simple. The rules are easy. You just need to follow them. So that's how, I mean, within a few months, you can have your G license and be driving good cars around. That stage is yet to come, because I just got my license and I've just been frolicking about it. But soon it'll be vroom, Fast and Furious. No, I shouldn't be doing that. Yeah. So yeah, that's the information I want to share today, and hopefully this one helps. Whatever links are needed, including the handbook for G1 and your PDE classes and MTO handbook and the G1 Genius app, and in fact even the number of Mr. Liaquat, who can teach you driving in downtown if you're in downtown Toronto. So I will put all those links in the description, and please like, share and subscribe. That's what every YouTuber says, and that's what I will do. So hopefully you will find not only this video but other future forthcoming videos also useful, and they'll come handy because I'll be talking about a lot of things that at least I've been learning or trying to learn here, and hopefully all of that will be helpful to you and make your life easier. So like, share, subscribe to this channel called Between Brightness, and I will see you again sometime next week. Hopefully 1 week 1 video at least try करेगा मैं इज्जत से. Okay. Chalo. With that, bye bye.